Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an event that has fundamentally changed how we view extreme weather. We're diving into a historic, frankly shocking statistic from the spring of 2024, a season that didn't just break records, it completely shattered our entire understanding of what a heat wave even looks like.
Okay, picture this. Out of the 100 hottest cities in the entire world in early 2024, a staggering 92 of them were located in India. 92. We aren't just talking about a warm week here. We are talking about a subcontinent enduring an unprecedented, prolonged thermal assault. To really grasp the mechanics of this crisis, we need to look at both the immediate weather systems and the massive climate engine that's driving them.
So let's get right into it. Section 1, the 2024 Indian Inferno.
You know, if you look back just a few decades, the transition into summer was actually pretty gradual. People distinctly remember needing sweaters during festivals like Diwali and for sure by Christmas. But today, that reality is totally warped. In 2024, brutal heat waves pushed temperatures past 41 degrees Celsius as early as March. Spring was essentially canceled, replaced overnight by a punishing, relentless summer.
And the reality on the ground was terrifying. In Churu, Rajasthan, the mercury hit 50.5 degrees Celsius. That's over 122 degrees Fahrenheit. This intense heat baked the earth, dried up rivers, and triggered severe water shortages in New Delhi where taps ran completely dry. The medical system was literally pushed to the brink. Hospitals were forced to deploy massive 200-kilogram ice machines for their dedicated heat stroke wards just to rapidly cool patients and keep them alive. Nationwide, we saw over 40,000 suspected heat stroke cases.
Which brings us to our meteorological culprits. Section 2, heat domes and El Niño.
So what's actually happening in the sky? The primary culprit is something called a heat dome. Imagine taking a giant, invisible lid and placing it directly over the subcontinent. A high-pressure system parks itself in the atmosphere and traps all that hot air right near the ground. And because the pressure is so intense, it pushes away any cloud cover. So the sun just beats down directly, baking the earth, and the heat simply can't escape. It continuously builds up day after day, meaning there's no cooling relief even at night.
Right, so we know what's happening up in the sky. But weather is this massive, globally connected machine. To find the trigger for this atmospheric lid, we actually have to look out at the water. What is disrupting the oceans to trigger these extreme shifts in the first place?
The answer is El Niño. This is a massive natural climate pattern originating way out in the Pacific Ocean. During an El Niño phase, the surface waters of the Pacific become unusually warm. And this seemingly distant warming has a profound domino effect. It weakens the vital trade winds that normally regulate our global weather. When those winds weaken, the entire equilibrium is thrown off balance. For India, this disruption suppresses the crucial monsoon rains and creates the exact, perfect, arid conditions for a brutal, prolonged heat wave.
Let's zoom out even further now to the root cause. Section 3, the climate change engine.
The data here is absolutely undeniable. India's average temperatures have risen by 0.7 degrees Celsius since 1901. Now I know 0.7 might sound like a tiny number, but in atmospheric terms, it's massive. This overall warming trend is driven by skyrocketing global greenhouse gas emissions, sprawling urbanization that replaces cooling forests with concrete, and the loss of natural environments. Because the baseline temperature is permanently higher now, scientific modeling shows that these severe heat waves are a staggering 100 times more likely today than they were in the past.
And this leads us to a really fascinating carbon paradox on the global stage. If you just look at total greenhouse gas emissions, India is actually the world's third largest emitter, largely because it relies on coal for rapid industrial development. But wait, when you look at the per capita footprint, the emissions per person, India sits way below the global average at just 1.85 tons per year. They hold 17% of the entire global population, which spreads out that per capita number. But the sheer immense scale of the nation makes its total atmospheric contribution incredibly significant.
This dynamic directly feeds into our next topic, Section 4, Climate Justice and Inequality. Listen to this powerful quote from a forest dweller in Tablabria, Odisha. They asked, "I do not understand why we are the only community required to conserve the forests. Shouldn't this be the responsibility of the state?" That question hits the nail right on the head.
It perfectly captures the core struggle of climate justice. The marginalized groups, like the Adivasis, who have historically contributed the absolute least to global emissions, are the ones bearing the heaviest burden of conservation, while simultaneously suffering the harshest impacts of the changing climate. Because extreme heat, it is a lethal magnifier of inequality. If you don't have the money for air conditioning, you face a much deadlier reality. I mean, in the 2024 general elections, 33 poll workers tragically died from extreme heat just doing their democratic duty. The urban poor are trapped in these concrete heat islands that radiate heat all night long. Farmers are watching their livelihoods wither away, with wheat yields alone projected to drop anywhere from 6 to 25% by 2100. And ultimately, Dalit and Adivasi communities are the ones disproportionately displaced when these slow-motion climate disasters strike.
And the macroeconomic drain is just as staggering. $86, that is India's social cost of carbon, the highest in the entire world. What that means is for every single additional ton of carbon dioxide emitted, the Indian economy suffers $86 in actual damages. We're talking lost labor productivity, massive healthcare costs, agricultural failures. The heat is quite literally burning through the nation's economic future.
So how do we adapt? Section 5, the path to survival. Well, immediate, on-the-ground adaptations are already rolling out. 23 states have initiated heat action plans, complete with early warning systems so people actually know when lethal temperatures are hitting. In major cities like Delhi, they're installing 3,000 public water coolers and pushing for cool roofs painted with reflective materials to literally bounce the sunlight away. And crucially, hospitals are establishing specialized rapid cooling heat stroke rooms to handle the inevitable surge of patients. Looking long-term, India has set some incredibly ambitious mitigation goals. By 2030, they're aiming to reach a massive 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel capacity, draw 50% of their total energy from renewables, and cut the carbon intensity of their economy by 45%. And the ultimate target? Achieving net zero emissions by 2070. It's a monumental, completely unprecedented task, completely rewiring a national energy grid while simultaneously trying to lift millions of people out of poverty. Which leaves us with a final, really provocative thought to ponder. India is the world's most populous nation, racing to secure economic prosperity for its people, yet it's sitting right on the front lines of an escalating climate crisis that it largely didn't even create. So as global temperatures continue to rise and our margin for error shrinks, who will ultimately pay the true price for our warming world?